So I think the market is shifting. We're shifting from knowledge work being radically transformed with tools like Claude Code being reimagined for knowledge workers with Claude Cowork. And we're now moving into an era where skill sets such as managing AI tools that are doing work for you is more important than just using the tool itself. And this big change brings with it brand new skill sets. And I think these skill sets are going to be incredibly important for you at work, your family, your colleagues, because right now, January hiring and firing data in the US looks quite painful. It was the worst since 2009, with companies openly saying that they're removing and firing people as a result of AI. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the exact skill sets that I think are critical for you to learn. Judgment, taste, delegation. I'm going to talk about frameworks for deciding when to use AI or when to hand the work off to AI. And ultimately, what you can practically do about this massive change. This is In the Loop with Jack Horton. I hope you enjoyed the show. So let's start with what skills I think are now really important. Now, Ethan Mollick did a fantastic piece on all of this. And for those that don't know him, Ethan Mollick is a AI researcher and professor that puts out fantastic pieces online. I'd highly recommend to go check him out. But he did a big deep dive into important skill sets. His answer was fantastic. It's very, very simple. It's management. Not management in the sense of sitting in meetings and reviewing slide decks. Management in the way of describing exactly what you need to give fantastic and effective and clear feedback and design new ways of evaluating work you get back from, in this context, agents. If you're good at those things, you're going to be able to work with agents very well. And what I absolutely loved about this piece is that he adds a very important nuance. Management has always assumed scarcity. You delegate because you can't do everything yourself, and because talent is very limited and very expensive. AI completely flips this. Talent is abundant and it's cheap. What's scarce and difficult all of a sudden is knowing what to ask for and how to ask it. And for example, senior product managers at Google mapped out different skill sets that they believe are now critical to a modern worker. The ability to shape a problem, so turning vague objectives into precise, testable subtasks. The ability to curate context, so deciding what information is actually important for this subtask and only giving it that context so you can get the perfect output. Creating fantastic documentation and systems so you can get 90% of the way there on a single attempt. Another really important skill they labeled was actually ability to recognize quality. The ability to orchestrate many, many agents, managing sequential versus, say, parallel tasks. We'll get onto that. The ability to understand guardrails and how to ensure agents are performing well, knowing when to intervene with an agent or when to start again, and judgment about the tool sets you're using. Understanding when to use an agent, when to use a simple model, and when just to do it yourself. These skills aren't new, really. Yes, they apply it to AI and there's a learning curve there, but this is 101 management skills. I think the CEO of Shopify is a fantastic case study here. His GitHub commit, so the actual code that he's committed to Shopify's code base, has gone up from 94 commits in 2024 to over 900 in 2026 alone. You can tell he's clearly not writing all that code himself. He's the CEO. He's probably a busy person, but he's orchestrating and managing agents to write lots of code and get it into the code base. It's turning a CEO of a massive company into a builder again, because again, talent is now cheaper and more readily available. What matters is your ability to instruct it. What matters is the skill sets that I'm going to go into that ensures what you're producing is actually good quality work. We saw this also with Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. They used to have, say, a designer, a front-end engineer, a back-end, a senior architect, a product manager, and what they're doing is rolling all of that skill set into one person and calling them a full-stack builder. Someone that can have an idea, shape it, understand the problem they're solving, build a lot of it, and get it into a place where others can review without relying on 18 meetings and documents. So there's a lot of skill sets that are emerging that are becoming increasingly important. Another one is taste. Taste is about selection, recognizing quality amongst many different options or directions. If AI generates us 10 versions of something, which one do you go for? Which one is actually good? Judgment, on the other hand, is about weighting trade-offs. It's about evaluation, especially when you don't have complete information. You don't know necessarily the end direction or end outcome that you're going for. So yeah, suddenly decision-making integrates all these different skill sets of taste, of judgment, of evaluation, and then management skills is the coordination of all these different decisions across many different agents and tools to get more work done than ever before. Another really important skill set here is curiosity, which I think is arguably at the moment my key, most desirable skill set. You could have extraordinary taste, but without any agency and curiosity, you won't create anything. You need to be constantly asking, is there another direction to take? Can I prompt it to explore this direction? And if it doesn't get me anywhere, that's fine. But then I've been curious enough to explore it. And again, that judgment and taste to know when it's good enough and we're ready to ship. So someone could have extraordinary taste, but no, let's say, agency. So the ability to make a decision. Therefore, you can't create anything. You could have lots of agency, but awful judgment. So you could move really fast, but in the wrong direction. You could have all the curiosity in the world, but without the ability to follow through and take action, nothing happens. So all these skills combined suddenly become extremely important to develop in yourself. And we've seen these types of comments from big leaders all over the world right now. So the co-founder of Y Combinator, probably the most famous startup accelerator in the entire world, believes judgment is now the skill set that matters. In his words, when anyone can make anything, it's the ability to decide what to make that counts. Greg Brockman, the president of OpenAI, said that taste is now his most important skill. And the CTO of Cloudflare, so the thing that basically makes the internet work, said that taste in 2026 is now the engineering differentiator. So yeah, I've discussed what skills are really important now and why they're really important. Because ultimately, as I said, you can be a full stack builder in whatever career trajectory, whatever career path you're currently doing. You can be a full stack builder, someone who can produce more than anyone else in the world, but it requires you to have those important skill sets to be trusted in the organization to actually go and do those things. So then I think now let's move on to, I guess, the equation for when to delegate to AI. I think this is a really important one to get started with and a really good framework of thinking about these big questions. Now, Ethan Mollick believes that it comes down to just 3 variables. First, the human baseline of time. So how long would a task take for you to complete? Second, the probability of success. How likely is AI to give you a good answer and output? And third is AI process time. How long would it take you to write the prompt, get the answer, and evaluate the output? Now, on the face of it, it seems quite simple, but that requires you to have in-depth understanding of the tools, how to manage agents, what it's good at and bad at, to have stress tested all those different avenues, and therefore to have really chucked yourself into it. And the reason I'm emphasizing this point so much about these new skill sets, the way of deciding when to delegate or not delegate something to AI, is because of the huge amount of layoffs that are starting to happen across the US. I'm sure the data is going to back it up in the UK too. You know, US employers announced over 108,000 layoffs in January, which is a 120% increase year on year. Hiring intentions fell to their lowest levels since records began. And AI was cited in over 7,500 job cuts. And although that only represents 7% of those total jobs, I truly believe that it's understating the impact AI is starting to have on the job market. So what should you take away from this episode? Well, ultimately, we're seeing a shift from execution to direction, and we're seeing this especially in the world of programming and developers. But as I've said a number of times on this podcast, it's coming for everybody. The skills that matter now are taste, are judgment, agency, curiosity, and the ability to coordinate work across many different agents. These are the sorts of tasks that often people didn't develop in themselves because they were so busy on executing things themselves, whereas now everybody is becoming a manager. And the economic reality of this change is uneven, and in places it's going to be really unfair. I think layoffs in this next period are probably going to be structural, not temporary. But there are many skills that everybody must learn and demonstrate if they're going to navigate these quite difficult times. Nobody can fully predict what work's going to look like when everybody's a manager. But I think those that will thrive are those that can describe exactly what they need and make the perfect judgment of when it is good enough to ship. Anyway, that's a short episode this week on important skill sets that we're seeing emerge. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you next week.